Can children be infected with autism? There is a theory going around, and it hasn't gained much traction, that autism is actually caused by as yet an unidentified infective agent. This infection theory is based on the fact that autism is worldwide and the incidence of autism is actually increasing, just as you would expect with an infective agent. And some research suggests this, but for now it's actually on pretty shaky ground. The biggest clues at the moment of a connection between bugs and autism stems from research into the human microbiome. In a previous video blog, I looked at microbiota transfer therapy in autism. This is where the gut microbiome from a healthy individual is transplanted into the individual with autism who has a chronic gastrointestinal condition, resulting in a significant improvement not only of their gut condition, but also a reduction of their autistic traits as well. But what if we ask the question, what if we do the reverse? Transfer the gut microbiome from an autistic child into a healthy, typically developing child. Volunteers, please? No, it's obviously not going to happen. But in a sense, this does happen in pregnancy and birth, where the gut microbiome of the mother is transferred or she infects her newborn child with her own gut bacteria. So this brings me to the latest study published in the journal Cell, which has generated more headlines and discussion about the gut and autism. This study involved the transplantation of the gut microbiome from 11 autistic children, 3 boys with mild autism and 8 boys with severe autism, and 5 typically developing control children, into germ-free mice lacking a gut microbiome, and then breeding these mice and looking at the offspring. The mouse pups typically inherited or are infected with the gut microbes from their mother. They specifically looked at behavioural changes and metabolic parameters in these pups. At 6 weeks of age, pups whose mothers received microbes from a boy with mild autistic traits behave like those with microbes from the control children. But pups whose mothers received microbes from a severely autistic child spend less time socialising, making fewer vocalizations, and show more repetitive behaviours than controls do. And very interestingly, the effect is more pronounced in male pups than in females. Further, the mice with transplants from the severely autistic boys were found to have less microbial diversity, which is, we already know that, and unusual populations of certain bacteria as well. Yes, we also know that. But they also found unusual levels of 27 out of 331 small molecules in the guts that they actually tested for. So 27 out of 313 detected gut metabolites were significantly different. This is where it actually gets interesting. 2 molecules in particular, taurine and 5-aminovaleric acid, were very low, and they were of particular interest. And why? Because both of these molecules, taurine and 5-aminovaleric acid, both activate receptors for the chemical messenger gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. And GABA is one of the main inhibitory neurotransmitters in the brain and helps regulate communication between brain cells. And we certainly do know that low levels of GABA are implicated in autism. So then they looked at a mouse model of autism, and they took a pregnant strain of mice that show autism-like behaviours. So they gave them either taurine or 5-aminovaleric acid. They also gave the pups taurine and 5-aminovaleric acid. And what they found was that treatment with either of these molecules, the pups became more sociable and had fewer repetitive behaviours than controls. And interestingly, they also showed less anxiety. When they repeated it in that germ-free mice experiment where they transferred the microbiome of autistic children into the mice and then bred the pups, when they repeated this experiment with taurine or 5-aminovaleric acid, what they found that treatment with either molecule had a similar effect on social behaviour, but interestingly not on the repetitive behaviour. And 5-aminovaleric acid, they actually found it actually had a greater reduction of neuroexcitability in the brain as well. So exposure of taurine and 5-aminovaleric acid to developing autistic strain mice during the prenatal period and the weaning periods is critical, because the administration to juvenile mice starting at 4 weeks of age and through to adulthood did not rescue behavioural alterations in these pups. And a similar effect was observed when we administered 5-aminovaleric acid from weaning to offspring mice colonised with human microbiota. So taurine is essential for brain development and can be produced by neurons and astrocytes or transported through the blood-brain barrier. We hypothesised that taurine and 5-aminovaleric acid are neuroactive metabolites produced by microbiota. Indeed, administration of either taurine or 5-aminovaleric acid to autistic strain mice from conception attenuated autistic relevant behavioural alterations, namely stereotypies and social impairments. So this is something that we may need to consider in future, and something I'm actually quite excited about. If there is a history of autism and parents are planning to have another child, maybe we should be considering taurine as a supplement, for the mother obviously, and certainly considering introducing it when children are very young, since as they grow older it doesn't seem to have the same effect. So taurine is actually a non-essential amino acid, as it can be synthesized by the body as needed. And taurine is readily available as a supplement. And over the years we have actually used taurine in autistic children for liver issues, often to promote bile flow, as a source of sulfur, for its calming effects. So in seizures, taurine should decrease the frequency and the severity of seizures, and also for enhancing GABA in the brain. The safety of taurine is actually quite good. Animal and human studies have shown taurine administration to be safe, even at higher doses. However, from the many discussion groups that I've been on over the years, parents also report adverse effects in their autistic children when they're giving taurine. And these things you will not read about in books or studies, but it's important to know that parents have reported this. Like, one parent reported that taurine exacerbated their child's seizures. Now remember, taurine is actually supposed to decrease the frequency and also the severity of seizures, but not in this particular child. It's also been reported by parents to cause issues with sleep and also irritability as well. So bottom line is, don't go out buying taurine and giving it to your child unless you're under the supervision by a practitioner who really knows what they're doing. So I hope you enjoyed this video blog. As usual, please leave your comments below and please share to help me spread this bit of research, as I think it's actually quite important. And hit the subscribe box to be notified of my upcoming video blogs. And thank you again for watching.